here to kill me. Run.
Hello action fan, whether you like superhero action, sci-fi action, or straight-up John Wick style set-piece mayhem, there was something for you in 2019. Here are 10 films in 2019 that will amaze you. And maybe those who have watched it will feel nostalgic.
John Wick, excommunicado.
Mr. Wick broke the rules.
You haven't disappointed.
John Wick.
Number 1. The Gangster, the Cop, the Devil is a 2019 South Korean action thriller film. Nobody does hulking, imposing physicality like Ma Dong-suk, aka Don Lee, the South Korean superstar who broke out with international audiences in Train to Busan and has a knack for channeling preternatural likability into his tough guy roles. That signature quality is on full display in The Gangster, the Cop, the Devil, a sleek but grim action thriller that stars Ma as a mob boss who randomly ends up on the wrong side of a serial killer's knife and makes a devil's bargain with an ambitious renegade cop, Kim Moo-yeol, to bring down the devil himself. Although its final act shreds credulity, and the structure is a bit wonky, this pulpy crime thriller from Korea is still a real kick in the head. Like so many of the genre that hail from Seoul and its suburbs, this one punches well above its weight with an inventive reworking of well-worn plot tropes and slick production values. Unfortunately, The Gangster, the Cop, the Devil doesn't quite dig deep enough into the depravity of its sinister slasher figure to balance its title trifecta.
상해 셋이 목숨 걸고 게임을 했는데.
Number 2. Fast and Furious Presents, Hobbs and Shaw, also known simply as Hobbs and Shaw, is a 2019 action comedy film. It is the first spin-off film in the Fast and Furious franchise, set after the events of The Fate of the Furious, 2017. In the film, the unlikely pairing of Luke Hobbs, Johnson, and Deckard Shaw, Statham, join Deckard's sister Hattie Shaw, Kirby, to take down Brixton Lore, Elba, a cybernetically enhanced terrorist threatening the world with a deadly virus. Directed by David Leitch from a screenplay by Chris Morgan and Drew Pearce, based on a story by Morgan. Series star and producer Vin Diesel first said in 2015 that possible spin-offs were in early development, and Hobbs and Shaw was officially announced in October 2017. On Metacritic, the film has a weighted average score of 60 out of 100, based on 54 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of A- on an A+ to F scale, while those at PostTrack gave it an average 4 out of 5 stars. Number 3. Avengers Endgame is a 2019 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics superhero team The Avengers. Avengers Endgame is purely an action movie because it's also kind of a superhero time travel heist with healthy portions of comedy, sci-fi, and melodrama. But there's no denying that Marvel's massive conclusion to the Infinity Saga contains some of the most bombastic action beats not only of 2019, but arguably of all time. Really, there's no argument at all when it comes to the film's final third, one long battleapalooza between Thanos, Josh Brolin, forces of evil and every gosh dang MCU hero you can imagine, most of which had just returned from the dead. Between a score by Alan Silvestri that could have you running through brick walls, Captain America, Chris Evans, wielding a mythical hammer, and Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr., making his final stand, Endgame's action is pretty much guaranteed to turn every viewing.
I like this one.
Mr. Wick broke the rules.
Number 4. John Wick, Chapter 3, Parabellum, or simply John Wick, Chapter 3, is a 2019 American neo-noir action thriller film. John Wick, Chapter 3, Parabellum is pretty much just showing up. Once again starring the timeless Keanu Reeves as the titular super assassin, the film is basically one extended EFFU to anyone else trying to do practical, in-camera action right now.
Good to see you too.
I soon you're less than even.
The high table wants you. There's no escape for you.
You've seen chases through the city, but have you seen a man racing through Brooklyn on horseback? You've heard the rule about working with animals, but what if this movie specifically trained attack dogs to take part in the best animal action scene of all time? The third John Wick basically breaks the rules bullet by bullet. In the case of John Wick, the third time might just be the charm.
You think you can take John? You got a nasty surprise coming.
On Metacritic, the film has a weighted average score of 73 out of 100, based on 50 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of A- on an A+ to F scale, the same as its predecessor.
We can keep this up as long as you'd like. Ends one way.
Number 5. Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Keeping with the tradition of Warner Bros.' new Monarch Monsterverse, which also includes Godzilla and Kong, Skull Island, the human drama in Godzilla, King of the Monsters is more or less a total snooze, accepting Ken Watanabe's high-key relatable spiritual bond to Godzilla himself. But fortunately filmmaker Michael Dougherty came to play with the kaiju action scenes, which not only brought Godzilla, King Ghidorah, Rodan and Mothra into the fold, but countless creature creations new and old. Alike in an absolutely bonkers giant monster bonanza. There's a real reverence for the key creatures and their cinematic history on display in King of the Monsters, and Dougherty uses every penny of the film's blockbuster budget to duck and weave in and out of the monster brawls with the humans, while also showing the whole possibly apocalyptic melees in colorful, epic wide shots. The biggest complaint about 2015's Godzilla was that it didn't have enough action. Clearly the feedback was heard, and King of the Monsters is an all-out monster mash.
So nice to finally meet you. Clothes on. Let's go for a ride.
Is he gonna be okay like that?
Number 6. Spider-Man, Far From Home is a 2019 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics character Spider-Man, co-produced by Columbia Pictures and Marvel Studios, and distributed by Sony Pictures Releasing. It is the sequel to Spider-Man, Homecoming, 2017, and the 23rd film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The set pieces on this sucker are rollicking good times, bursting with imagination and visual clarity. In large part, this is thanks to the addition of Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. His performance, like many of the best Gyllenhaal performances, feels a little off. And when his big twist is revealed, it makes all of it make sense, and gives the film an appealingly prescient commentary on what we can actually believe despite seeing it. One of favorite sequences in the film is when Parker is sent, via incredibly believable forces of illusion, on a hallucinogenic dark night of the soul, taunting him with personal visions of pain and anguish.
And I'm tired of the lies. 과연 내가 오늘 몇 개의 테이블 세팅을 쳤을 것 같니? 234만 원. 오늘 하루 매출액이야.
Number 7. Extreme Job is a 2019 South Korean action comedy film. Sung Ryong Ryu stars as Captain Ko, the leader of a ragtag squadron of undercover drug enforcement who just absolutely cannot stop botching the job. With one last chance to prove themselves, they go undercover at a fried chicken restaurant and get so caught up in their thriving chicken business they almost forget about their real jobs. Featuring an ace ensemble cast playing lovable oddball characters, Extreme Job is pure movie-going joy, an energetic and exuberant crime comedy that will keep a smile plastered on your face throughout. Extreme Job and Chinese film Lobster Cop, released in June 2018, were developed in the same project called the Korean-Chinese Story Co-Development Project, that was a cooperation between Chinese and Korean companies, with the same script localized differently in their respective countries. Number 8. Terminator, Dark Fate is a 2019 American science fiction action film that is the sixth installment in the Terminator franchise and a direct sequel to Terminator 2, Judgment Day, 1991, ignoring the events of Rise of the Machines, 2003, Salvation, 2009, and the reboot Genesis, 2015. It introduces Mackenzie Davis, Natalia Reyes, Gabriel Luna, and Diego Boneta as new characters. Set 25 years after the events of Terminator 2, the film sees the machines sending an advanced Terminator, Luna, designated Rev-9, back in time to 2020 to kill Danny Ramos Reyes, whose fate is connected to the future. The Resistance also sends Grace, Davis, an augmented soldier, back in time to defend Danny, while they are joined by Sarah Connor and Skynet's T-800. The Terminator franchise has come clanking robotically into view once again with its sixth film. It absolutely will not stop, not merely repeating itself, but somehow repeating the repetitions. While he wrote that it was as good to see Hamilton getting a robust role, he added that, sadly, she has to concede badass superiority to Davis. He concluded by writing, "This sixth Terminator surely has to be the last." Yet the very nature of the Terminator story means that going round and round in existential circles comes with the territory.
The Force will be with you.
Always.
Number 9. Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, also known as Star Wars, Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, is a 2019 American epic space opera film. If you like your action with lightsabers and pew-pew guns and epic intergalactic battles, then Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker was the movie for you in 2019. The Force Awakens Helmer J.J. Abrams returns for the final installment in the Skywalker saga, which brings together 40 years of world building, and while the screenplay and choppy execution might not hit all the right notes when it comes to tying together a grand finale, the action is without a doubt some of the best choreographed and performed of the year. Nothing quite has the inspiration and je-ne-sais quoi of The Last Jedi's throne room scene, but Rey and Kylo's lightsaber duels are fueled and elegantly performed, pitting Daisy Ridley's balletic grace against Adam Driver's brute force. They make for quite an athletic duo to behold, and the film surges to life every time they share the screen. It wraps up the trio of trilogies begun in 1977 in a confident, soothingly predictable way, doing all that is cinematically possible to avoid upsetting the tradition-minded quadrants of the Star Wars fan base.
No one does.
Your destiny.
Number 10. Avengement is a 2019 action film. The main draw here is watching Scott Adkins get into all kinds of brawls. Bar brawls, prison brawls, any old brawl will do, really. If that sounds good to you, then settle in for Avengement, the latest collaboration between DTV action champion Adkins and his Savage Dog and Accident Man director Jesse V. Johnson. This time around, Adkins and Johnson are clearly riffing on the Guy Ritchie/Matthew Vaughn brand of British crime thrillers, with a lot more roundhouse kicks. The film's structure is at first confounding and ultimately pretty satisfying, following Adkins' Kane Burgess, fresh out of prison, to a local pub where he holds the men responsible for his horrifying prison term to task for their bad deeds, jumping from flashback to flashback while he holds them at gunpoint.
I hereby find you guilty 10 years. So that was working, mate. Think your brother's banged already? My brother, did you? 20 grand. From where?
Few action performers can match the physical prowess Adkins brings to the table, and with veteran stuntman Johnson, Adkins gets plenty of steadily shot scenes, montages, and set pieces to show off his skills.